Hey guys, what's going on? It's Eli, back with another review video. And yes, to close off Oscar-winning movie week, and yes, you read the title, you know exactly what the last Oscar-winning film, which of course won Best Picture, that I'm reviewing. That's right, guys. From 2004, and can't forget to mention that this year it's celebrating its anniversary. That being $1 Million Baby. Yes, $1 Million Baby. I tell you, like, now that I finally have seen this movie, like, you know, this being a film directed and produced, and which, you know, he stars in it, the legendary Clint Eastwood. This being a Clint Eastwood film, and how a movie of his got to win Best Picture. And it won a lot of other Oscars for some of the actors, from Hilary Swank and Morgan Freeman, and Eastwood, he won for Best Director. Yeah, it totally deserved all those Oscars. It did win a couple of... didn't it? Yeah, because it won a couple of other Oscars. But yeah, $1 Million Baby is a really good movie from the one and only Clint Eastwood. Because this movie, all about a girl who wants to become a really good boxer, and just, you know, wanting Clint Eastwood's character, to train her. And even though at the beginning he doesn't really want to do it at first, but as the film proceeds, you know, he does, you know, become her trainer, and she becomes his fighter. But boy, like, very later on in the film, dark turns that this movie has, for sure. But anyways, and with all that being said, as always, read the description / the story. Frankie Dunn is a veteran Los Angeles boxing trainer who keeps almost everyone at arm's length, except his old friend and associate, Eddie Duprez, if I'm saying the last name right, and it also reads his, obviously, you know, his boxing name, Scrap Iron. When Maggie Fitzgerald arrives in Frankie's gym seeking his expertise, he is reluctant to train the young woman, a transplant from working-class Missouri. Eventually, he relents, and the two form a close bond that will irrevocably, if I'm saying that one word right, change them both. Okay, so the movie itself, like, I just don't know where to begin, because, like I said, and I know I'm going to continue saying this, you know, this movie that Clint Eastwood did, just fantastic. And, of course, you know, good old Clint Eastwood. Like I said, what a legendary actor he is. You know, like, he's definitely one of the top, like, best actors in Westerns. And, you know, he's he's directed a lot of great films. And fun fact, I remember me and my dad, we went to go see Sully. I'm sure you know the movie Sully, with Tom Hanks as Captain Sully. Yeah, we saw that in theaters, and that was my first Clint Eastwood movie that I saw on the big screen. So, yeah, and $1 Million Baby, because what he brought to this movie, just so fantastic. And yeah, it's amazing how he not only directs and produces this movie, but he's in this movie a lot, you know, because he's one of the main stars. And, you know, some actors, like, well, you know, actors / directors from, say, Kenneth Branagh, Jon Favreau, in some movies that they direct, they also star in them. They're the main characters. So yeah, and there's you know, plenty of others that I could think of that have directed and starred in the movie that they're doing. So yeah, and Clint Eastwood, I think, yeah, he's directed and starred in a couple of other movies that he's done aside from this movie. Yeah, so again, Frankie Dunn, who is a boxing trainer, and he runs a gym, and Eddie Scrap Iron Dupras, again, if I'm even saying the last name right, but, just Eddie. Eddie being played by the legendary Morgan Freeman. I gotta say, the chemistry between both Frankie and Eddie, well, it's very mutual, I think. Sometimes, they kind of give each other a hard time, and, but at the same time, I think, there's a friendship between both of them. And with Eddie, because, in his middle name, Scrap Iron, because, again, obviously that was his boxing name, and, well, it's obvious, and as the movie explains, he was once a boxer. And also, Morgan Freeman does narration in this movie, and we find out at the end of the movie with that narration, because I'll go ahead and say it, that Morgan Freeman narrating this, it's Eddie that's narrating this movie. So, and we find out just with him being the narrator, until I talk about that. So at the start of this movie, Frankie, he has a fighter named Big Willie Little, being played by Mike Coulter, and very later on, because they get an offer, because with some boxers getting some offers at some events and so on. And after Big Willie's fight, we see and get the introduction of Maggie Fitzgerald, being played by the one and only Hilary Swank. And let me tell you, Hilary Swank in $1 Million Baby, oh, she's fantastic. I really enjoyed her character in this movie, and who wouldn't? Because the performance that Hilary gave to this character, and the fact that she won an Oscar for her performance, it's fantastic. It's fantastic. And the accent that, that her character has, again, because she's from Missouri, so she meets with Frankie, and right there and then, because she wants him to train her, but he's not having it at first. He does, because she's a girl, and he doesn't train girls boxing, and even telling Maggie that she should find another good trainer, probably a female trainer, but no, she wants him to train her. And at the gym, because a lot of interesting characters at the gym, because we have Danger Barch, I think it's Bark, I want to say Bark. Danger Bark, played by Jay Barsul, if I'm saying his last name right, aka the voice of Hiccup in the How to Train Your Dragon franchise. Yeah, that's him. Danger, I gotta say, he's an oddball. I mean, if that's the correct word for me to use, because you can tell, because he wants to become a boxer, and sometimes he's shouting those whom he wants to, box against, and a couple of others at the gym, and they sometimes give Danger a hard time and make fun of him. We have Sharrell Berry, played by Anthony Mackie, who would years later become the Falcon / the new Captain America in the MCU. And we also have Omar, I think it's Omar, yeah. Omar being played by Michael Pena, the guy from Ant-Man, Scott's friend, who sometimes does recaps. Yeah, him. And he would also be in another Oscar-winning film that would win Best Picture, Crash. And he was also in the live-action Dora the Explorer film. He was Dora's father. So, if you know him. So Sharrell and Omar, they're kind of, pardon my French, they're kind of assholes at the gym. And again, sometimes giving Danger a hard time. And I were to assume that that's his boxer name, I should say. His boxer name being Danger. Because Why would he be called why would that be his real name? It sounds more like a boxer slash, fighter's name, you know what I mean? So I think I'm probably right. And you can let me know in the comments section if I am. And sometimes in the gym, because, well, Maggie shows up to the gym, and she's not giving up getting Frankie to train her and for her to be his fighter. Even some things that Frankie says, Frankie, is tough, and some things that he says to each of the characters. Like I said, the chemistry between Frankie and Eddie, and I can't forget to mention this, that because Eddie was once a boxer, well, if you noticed, his eye, he lost an eye. One eye is blind, it's this eye. So, then, well, that had to do with when he was a boxer. Golly, anything's possible. Anything is possible for something like that. An eye being blind, anything's possible. Anything like that can happen when it comes to boxing, no doubt about it. Also, I'd like to mention this, that the character development in this film is really good, because each of the characters and what we know of them, first off, Frankie, again, because we know that he is a boxing trainer and he runs a gym, but he's also religious. He's a Christian, and sometimes he goes to a local church, and another character in this movie, and sometimes Frankie has interactions with him, Father Horvath, if I'm saying the last name right, being played by Brian F. O'Brien. And yeah, I mean, the chemistry between them, oh my gosh, even at the beginning of the film, because when we first see the father, him just letting out the F-bomb, saying the F-bomb at Frankie, and the fact that he's a father, oh my gosh. Well, I mean, it slipped out, And we also find out more on the character of Frankie, that every week he's been writing to his daughter, sending her letters, but he always gets them back because his daughter doesn't want to speak to her father. And, the movie never establishes what he did to his daughter. I'm guessing probably he just wasn't really there for her and was kind of being a bad dad slash father. I were to assume that probably he was not abusive towards his daughter. I have a good feeling that probably he just really wasn't there for her and not being a good father to her. So probably that's why. So again, he writes letters to his daughter every week, but he keeps getting them back. She doesn't want to read them every time she gets them, well, because she immediately sends them back. Yeah, and at one point, and to speed things up a little, because, like I said, Frankie and Big Willie, they get an offer, but Big Willie is leaving Frankie. He is gonna do the offer, accept the offer, take it, but, he's leaving Frankie. But at least Big Willie didn't do it in a mean way, because, Frankie was there for Big Willie, and Frankie taught Big Willie everything he needed to know. So that was nice to hear from Big Willie. And thus, Big Willie departs, and for now, Frankie has no fighter. But for Big Willie, because he makes a good career for himself, being a world champion boxer. Yeah, so good for Big Willie. And on Maggie, because where she comes from, again, Missouri, well, because for one thing, she's trash. I think yeah, that's what the movie establishes. She really doesn't have that much money. She lives in a crappy motel, I want to say, an apartment building. It's an apartment building, a cheap apartment building. and she really doesn't have that much food, and she works as a waitress, and we even at one point see that she took leftover food that someone didn't eat, and, like, pretending and make an excuse that, it's for her dog, but it's really for her. And again, how she dreams of becoming a boxer and to be Frankie's fighter. And she's not giving up, doing so. And with her still being at the gym, at one point, because Charelle was kind of making fun and insulting Maggie, and she got him back good. Yeah, so it had to do something with, Charelle commenting on her titties, and then she got him back commenting on his titties. So it's true. I'm just saying, like, that's what they said in the movie. And by the way, I have to mention this. The fact that this movie is PG-13, and there's a good chunk of swearing in this, mostly the F-bomb. How is that possible? Like, if a movie has that much F-bombs, it would most likely get an R rating. But if it doesn't have that much F-bombs, like, if a movie just has an F-bomb once, then the movie can still have a PG-13 rating. I mean, jeez, like, talk about, like, say, when Beetlejuice came out, it got a PG rating. It had one F-bomb. Like, they managed to get away with that. The movie Beetlejuice managed to get away with that. I'm just saying, that being an example. But anyways, I don't know. I mean, still, how did this movie get a PG-13 rating with so many F-bombs? Like, yeah, I mean, there's the occasional, like, say, hell, damn. I think, yeah, the word shit was probably in this movie. There were, at times, like, GD and Jesus Christ, stuff like that. But still, this movie getting a PG-13 rating with having so many F-bombs, I'm just saying. I'm not saying this like I'm complaining or anything like that. I'm just, like, saying, like, it's hard to believe. It's hard to believe. You know that feeling? Like, geez Louise. I mean, I just thought I'd throw that out. Okay, so continuing the movie, at one point, we also find out on the character of Eddie that he actually lives in the gym. He has his own, like room, with a bed, TV, sink. Maggie is still at the gym, and at one point, Eddie helps Maggie out a little bit. And then, slowly but surely, Frankie finally gives in and slowly but surely helps Maggie. And the guidance that Frankie gives to Maggie is really good, because, Frankie, because no doubt about it, because he was a boxer, and how it took him years to get there, and, to be a really good boxer, and then becoming a boxing trainer, and teaching those what he experienced and has known, what it takes to be a boxer, you know what I mean? Like, some movements of your body, like, the position of your feet, and your arms and your fists. Yeah, it's amazing. Even when, like, Maggie is using Frankie's boxing pack, you do that. I know there's I think that's how you call it, but you could let me know in the comments section, what that's really called. He does actually at one point let her have it, but she doesn't want to, and, she says that, when she has enough money, she'll buy her own, and that's what she does, and how she's very good on how she's spending her money, and even at one point, very later on in the film, we see at her small apartment, she didn't get anything to, make her apartment look really good. You know what I mean? So that's nice to see. And sometimes, like, yeah, we get a bit of montages in this movie, especially, when Maggie is learning step by step and what, she has learned from Frankie. And throughout the film, like, her calling Frankie boss, even when early on, he was not her boss yet. Even at times for Frankie, him saying to Maggie that, you know, they'll find her a good manager. And at one point, they do find a manager. But yeah, not like, say, a bad manager, you know, but is not doing really good when, you know, Frankie passes Maggie on to this manager. But it doesn't take too long for Frankie to officially have her be his fighter. And that's when, yeah, Frankie officially helps out Maggie. Yeah. And also, speaking of managers, one manager who appears a couple of times in this movie, and he's not just a manager, like, he's something in this movie, Mickey Mack, being played by Bruce McFatty, if I'm saying the last name right. I think so, yeah. In this movie, because, like, he's Mickey Mack. He's not just a manager, he's Mickey Mack. And how it almost sounds like Mickey Mouse. I've seen one reactor actually mention that, so I thought I'd mention that too. But it kind of does if you say it fast. Mickey Mack. You know, Mickey Mouse. Anyways. Yeah, so, like I said, Frankie officially has Maggie be his fighter, helps her out, you know, throughout the film, and when slowly but surely, they start to get some offers. Also, have to mention this as well, the brutal shots, you know, like, what they look like, and, you know, in this case, of course, Maggie, how she looks after, you know, getting punched and such, and, you know, the boxing matches, yeah, brutal, and oh my gosh, even when at one point, you know, her nose was broken, and, you know, Frankie stepping in to, you know, fix her nose, oh my gosh, and that sound of her nose, yeah, I'll stop there. Sorry. Even that, yeah, because Frankie is good at that, like, attending to, the wounded spots, you know, from, say, Big Willie and, Maggie. So, yeah, he's good at that. Also, later on, because, Eddie invited Maggie over, you know, at a cafe, and, basically, you know, to congratulate her and, you know, have, you know, she has a cupcake with a candle. But also, we find out, like, we get a lot of Eddie's backstory. He's telling Maggie about his backstory when he was a boxer, and how, you know, what happened with him, and, you know, when he stopped being a boxer, and especially because, again, with him having one blind eye, that has to do with a boxing match that he was in. And then Mickey Mack shows up again, and you think that, well, is Maggie gonna turn to Mickey Mack, you know, him being her manager and such? Well, no, because what Maggie does is, well, she introduces herself to Mickey, a handshake. Mickey doesn't say anything, even when Maggie finishes what she has to say to Mickey, that, you know, she wants to stick with Frankie, you know, she doesn't want any part with Mickey, and, you know, I don't think, like, she was saying that to Mickey in a rude way or anything like that, but still, yeah, so she is sticking with Mickey, and rightfully so. And again, Mickey, he does not say a word. Again, when Maggie is finishes her sentence, I should say, and of course, you know, when she walks out of the cafe, and yeah, right there and then on. Alright, so to speed things up, at one point, they get an offer, Frankie and Maggie. They go to Britain, the UK, and one of Maggie's, like, you know, first official, like, you know, boxing events, I want to say, you know, and Frankie surprises Maggie with, you know, those, like, leather, like, what, you know, what they wear, what boxers wear, and they have something on, they have words on them. Well, for Maggie's, it's Makushla, yeah. And she doesn't know what that means at first. Not to mention that throughout this film, Frankie is sometimes is reading a book and learning a different language. I'm pretty sure, like, was it Gallic, Gallic, if I'm saying that right, yeah. So again, he's learning a different language, and thus, with that one word, Makushla, and we find out a little bit later on what that means, Makushla, when Frankie does tell Maggie what that means. So with Maggie's first official boxing match, public boxing match, happening in the UK, well, it goes pretty well. She succeeds on taking down her opponent. And then everybody chanting, and, whenever she's doing other boxing matches, everybody, the crowd chanting, Makushla, Makushla, Makushla. She's becoming, a hit, a very popular boxer. And, when they came back to America, well, because things things were looking pretty good for them, and still, like, her doing boxing matches, but also at one point, there were these two people that were wanting to make a deal with Frankie and Maggie, but I don't think, that didn't go that didn't go so well, and it didn't go further. Even at one point, it was mentioned by Frankie that Maggie should get a small house, and she eventually did get a small house. However, it's not for her; it's for her mother, and oh boy, Maggie's family. Well, and before I mention, like, her mother and sister, because it was mentioned early on in the film that she unfortunately lost her biological dad. And I think, it was also mentioned that she lost her brother, I want to say. And, her mother and sister, not friendly. Especially, I think, for Maggie's sister, if I remember correctly, like, Maggie's sister, Mardell, if I'm saying that right, Mardell, always not sticking with one man and so on. And I think Mardell, she has a child, so, oh my gosh. So so we then finally see Maggie's mother and sister living in a trailer park, of course. That's what you'd expect. And Erlyn Fitzgerald, being played by Margot Martindale, if I'm saying that right, and Mardell, Maggie's sister, being played by Riki Lindholm, if I'm saying her full name right. She's done a lot of acting, and I remember her best from being in The Big Bang Theory. If you remember her appearance in The Big Bang Theory, she was in a couple of Big Bang Theory episodes. But of course, she's done a lot more than that. So, but just, of course, I had to mention it from what I've first seen her in. So Maggie, reunites with her mother and sister, and she surprises them with the small house that she bought for her family. And, well, they don't appreciate it. They're not happy, and very disgustfully, they don't accept this. Maggie's mother just worrying about, the insurance, the checks, all that stuff. And, of course, it starts coming to Maggie that she is completely disgusted by this. She did this for her family, and especially for her mother, and the fact that they don't thank her for this, oh my gosh, it really shows. And the miserable life that Maggie had throughout most of her life and when she was a girl. I'm pretty sure that, from what I could tell, like, her biological father was the only good person in her family. Yeah, and the more she talks to Frankie about her dad, even when she talks about her dad and a dog they used to have named Axel, and how the dog Axel and her dad, they bonded, just very lovingly, and always, they both loved going for walks, but at a certain point, unfortunately, the dog died, and I think, if I remember correctly, because mentions of them having a shovel and burying the dog, very, very sad. And again, like I said, her dad had sadly died. So, and after what happened with Maggie's family disgracefully just not accepting that, and, even when Maggie told her mother that, she can sell the house if her mother wants to. And at one point, Maggie and Frankie, they stop at a roadside diner, and it was her dad's favorite roadside diner. I think, like, it had to do with peaches, I want to say. Yeah. And Frankie likes the roadside diner, too. And, Frankie likes the food that's served at the roadside diner. Yeah. Okay, so now I have to mention this one female boxer who becomes a big opponent to Maggie. And I think, because Frankie and Maggie, they're given an offer, for Maggie to take on this, world champion female boxer named Billy the Blue Bear, being played by Lucia Richker. Yeah, I think I got that right. And with the introduction to Billy the Bluebird and what she's like as a female boxer, wow, she's a machine, like a undefeatable machine. Like, her taking on other female boxers and just taking them down, like, how is this going to be possible for Maggie? But until we get to that, oh boy. So again, Frankie and Maggie, they're given this offer, and also to come to Las Vegas, which, Frankie does accept the offer, and Maggie is happy about this. And, by this point, she can decide on how they can travel to their destination, and with, the boxing event, For Maggie, she recommends that they drive there and fly back home. So, which seems impossible for them, but hey, Maggie, she made the decision, so. And back at the gym, because, once again, because with what's happening, with Danger as well as Eddie, and they have to deal with, a couple of those bullies, Sharel and Omar, and mostly Sharel, because, well, sometimes in the movie, Danger would be staring at water bottles, and at one point he went up and asked Eddie how ice was put in that small hole of the water bottle. And a little bit later, we see that Eddie, he's doing some janitor stuff, and Sharel points out to Eddie that the toilet in the restroom is clogged up, it's overflowing. And so he attends to that. And it hit me that something's up here with Sharel, because clearly he did that on purpose, like, whatever he did to the toilet, because it looks like nothing looks bad for that toilet, but obviously, he was distracting Eddie so he can, pardon my French, beat the shit out of Danger, which that's what he does. And, the fact that, again, Danger, his long life dream of becoming a professional boxer, and at this point, him taking on Sharel and getting his butt kicked, oh my gosh. And then sure, soon, very surely, slowly but surely enough, Eddie hears this, and he attends and helps out Danger, and, well, should have seen this coming, because Eddie takes Danger's boxing gloves that he was wearing, they were yellow, and he took on Shar-El, and boy, did he take down Shar-El just like that. And he still has it in him after, retiring from being a boxer. For him to do that again, like, he's still got it in him. He's still got it in him. And that's the thing, like, anybody who would retire from something they were good at, and if, at one point they would do it again, they still have it in them. You know what I mean? So again, he takes down Shar-El just like that, and even knocking a tooth out. Shar-El lost a tooth. Oh my gosh. And then when Eddie turned back to Danger, well, Danger just disappeared. Like, he disappeared. Like, where did he go? Like, he left the gym, and even when Eddie went outside of the gym, like, to see if he could see him walking away, he was not there. Where did Danger go? Are we gonna see him again? Well, until near the end of the movie. Until we get there. So, with the boxing match / event at Las Vegas, well, because Maggie about to take on Billy the Blue Bear. And once again, the crowd chanting, to Maggie, Makushla, Makushla. And it was pretty funny but also it was nice of Frankie, because Frankie brought in some, did he say? Yeah, pipes. Yeah, pipes. To play off, as she makes her grand entrance. Yeah, bagpipe players are there. That was really cool and nice of Frankie to, get bagpipe players. And again, the crowd chanting, Makushla, Makushla, and then enter Billy. And thus, well, the boxing match begins, and, well, it seems like it's kind of going well. I mean, Maggie is doing her best to, fight Billy, but a couple of times where Billy is, I think it's obvious, she's breaking the rules, and how she did, and her team lost a point. Yeah, lost a point, because the ref, saying, you lose 1 point. So, if you know that whole thing. And once again, Frankie stepping in, attending to Maggie's wounds. One of her eyes is, because of how much it was beaten, and how she's only seen, from one eye. And again, attending to her wounds and still giving her guidance on what's going on and with her opponent. And again, it seems like Maggie's doing well. In fact, not that much bruises and stuff like that on Billy. But when, at one point, the round is finished, well, oh boy, Billy is pissed off, and once again, she was breaking the rules, especially when when the round was over. She went for a punch straight to Maggie. She punched Maggie, and Maggie, like, in slow motion, she was going down, and she was about to hit the stool that, any boxer would sit on. Frankie was trying to move it out of the way, but it was too late. She hit the stool, and it changed Maggie's life forever, because we then see Maggie in the hospital. She's got tubes, like, right here, like, on her neck and such. Well, she's paralyzed, and she broke her spinal cord. She can no longer move, and as Maggie says, be frozen for the rest of her life. Also, because when that boxing match was happening with her against Billy, everybody was listening. We see Eddie watching it on his TV, and Omar and a couple of others at the gym, they were listening to it on the radio. And yeah, I think Omar kind of lightened up, I guess, I mean, we never saw Shar-El again, so yeah, good riddance to him. Even when Eddie, after he took down Shar-El, he tells him to just get a regular job, you punk. That was good for for what Eddie had to say, because, you know, clearly he knew that Shar-Rel was a dickhead. It's true. So with Maggie being in the hospital, and her being cared for, and Frankie staying by Maggie's side all the time, even like Frankie had some things to say to the hospital people, and, you know, they're not doing their jobs right, complaining about what they're doing, and even he made several calls to other hospitals, and at one point they traveled to another hospital, like, you know, self-care, I want to say. Yeah, I think that sounds about right. A 6-hour drive to another hospital, etc. And hey, because even Maggie pointed it out to Frankie while they were, you know, in the ambulance making that 6-hour drive, that, well, like what she had suggested, fly down there and drive back home. So that's what happened. But, you know, in an ambulance. So, you know, even Maggie's parents being informed about what happened to her, and how nobody could reach out to Maggie's parents, you know, especially Frankie. But eventually they were tracked down. They were to show up, but because, you know, how horrible Maggie's family is, like, they didn't immediately go and see her, because when they did finally show up, you could see in some of the shirts that they're wearing, the getup they had, they went to some theme parks from Universal Studios, Disney World. Oh my gosh. And technically we see Maggie's brother. I don't know. Does she have another brother? Because I'm not sure if the movie really establishes that, because I know and I swear that it was mentioned that she lost a brother who died, but I am to assume that she has a second brother. Again, I don't think the movie really establishes that, unless, you know, and I think, like, they have a lawyer with them, because it seems like everything's going okay with them, because Frankie takes a glimpse at what's going on in Maggie's hospital room. Everybody seems to be doing okay, and, you know, having a couple of laughs, and, you know, that's nice to see. But at one point, Maggie's family wants her to sign papers, have her assets, you know, be transferred and taken to her family, you know. And this is when Maggie, you know, has had enough with her family. Even when Frankie was trying to help out Maggie, but I think because I think I could tell that, you know, she's got this, and she really wanted Frankie to step aside, to stay out of this, because she's got this, and boy does she so, because what she says to her family, especially to her mother, you know, the next time that she sees them, and just insulting them, you know, oh my gosh, like, boy, does she get to them. Burn. Yeah, they rightfully so deserve that, what Maggie had to say to them, because they never were a good family to her. So, you know, why did they even bother showing up? Because, you know, what they were doing before they showed up, as I said, I tell ya. So with that out of the way, because, you know, with her parents, you know, her family, I should say, out of the picture, well, it seems like things are technically still going well for Maggie and Frankie, but because Maggie can't feel anything, she starts getting, like, some rashes, stuff like that, on her arms and legs, and she did at one point lose a leg. And despite the fact that she could not feel anything and what was being infected on her leg, I tell ya. And then at one point, Maggie mentions Frankie about, you know, her dad and the dog again, and reminding Frankie about what she said about the dog, Axel, like, you know, they had a shovel and what they did with the dog. Frankie immediately knows where this is going, and Maggie wants him to help, have her die. She doesn't want to live like this anymore. And, for her, her life is completed. All that she did, traveling the world, becoming a really good boxer. What she says, what? She couldn't have said it better myself, what she had to say, and it's really emotional. It really is. And Frankie, he wants nothing to do with it. He doesn't want to kill her. He doesn't want to help have her die. Because by this point, and I think you can tell, and I don't think, the movie doesn't establish this, nor does anybody say this, but I think it's obvious that Maggie became a daughter to Frankie. Because, once again, with what was going on between him and his actual daughter, and the fact that, Maggie became more like a daughter to Frankie, it's so emotional. Even when, at one point, a little bit early on, and when Maggie, was in the hospital at the beginning, she blamed Eddie on this, that, if Eddie hadn't helped out Maggie and, this would have Frankie, decide to officially train her and so on, then none of this would have happened. But later on, he apologizes to Eddie, and it wasn't true what he said. And besides, he only said that out of anger / upsetment, and that is understandable. You say what you gotta say, and you don't mean it. You don't mean to say anything like that. You're just upset and angry. That's the thing. And even to quote Frankie, because what he says to Eddie, I killed her, basically where she's at now. But Eddie, of course, assures him that that's not the case. He didn't kill her. But what he does next, even he has a bit of talk with the father and him back at the church, and the father even telling Frankie that it's God, it has to do something with God, because asking God for help and such like that, but it's not God who she's asking, it's Frankie who she's asking, for help and to do this and such, and to speed things up, a very emotional moment where he does help out Maggie to let her die. But actually before that, I can't forget to mention this, she tried to kill herself at one point by biting her own tongue. Oh my god, that's what I said when I saw what she was doing. That one shot where we see that blood coming out of her mouth, oh my god. That was shocking to see. And of course, the nurses and Frankie, they were there to help her, stop from doing this and to stop biting her tongue and so on. But yeah, like I said, we come to the point where Frankie officially helps out Maggie to peacefully die by injecting into Maggie and such. Yeah, it was very emotional. And fun fact, when I was watching the movie, I did get a bit of water in my eyes. I mean, I didn't get there. I didn't get to the point where, I was crying. I didn't get there crying and such. But I mean, I was feeling some emotions when that was happening, because like I said early on, the character of Maggie Fitzgerald, what Hilary Swank brought to this character, she's a great character, and her passion and how nice of a person she is, and what she went through as a child and with her family, and what it was like with her biological dad and that dog. Even when they're at a gas station, Maggie noticed a little girl with a dog, and well, that obviously it reminded her, and with the dog that her and her dad had. Yeah. So again, Maggie peacefully dies, and after that, well, what Frankie does next, he he disappears. He never returns to the gym, and Eddie never sees him again. But when Eddie is, of course, still at the gym, because that's where he lives, waiting to see if Frankie would return, well, it's not Frankie who returns. It's Danger. Danger comes back, and he thought of what Eddie said, about someone losing one fight and so on, and Eddie tells Danger to get back into training and such, and the boxing gloves, and that's what Danger does. At this point, it seems like Danger will become a much better boxer than what he was trying to do before. You know what I mean? Yeah, it's really nice to see. And it seems like that maybe Eddie will train Danger, so that's good to see. And as for Frankie, and with last bit of narration from Morgan Freeman as Eddie, because yeah, it's Eddie who's doing the narration. The entire time he was narrating throughout this movie, he was actually writing a letter to Frankie's daughter. I think at one point, because when Frankie at one point returned to his home, I want to say, did he receive a letter from his daughter? I think, maybe. But again, Eddie was writing a letter to Frankie's daughter, letting her know about what all happened and what happened throughout this movie, and what her dad was doing, and so on. And Eddie doesn't know where Frankie is, but us audience, we know where he is because the movie shows where he's at. He's back at the roadside diner, which he immediately came to like the roadside diner, just like Maggie's dad. That was a great way to end the film right there. And yeah, that's how it ends, because we see a brief shot, like, we can see him inside of the diner, we know he's in there, and he's eating what he ate the first time he was at the roadside diner, and boom, that's how the movie ends. Just a great way to end the movie right there. $1 Million Baby. Just what a fantastic movie that Clint Eastwood starred / produced and directed. It's fantastic. The storytelling, the characters, the emotional moments, and sometimes funny moments. There are some pretty good funny moments in this film. And of course, what I have mentioned, that, you could tell they were pretty funny, and of course hilarious. And dark turns that this movie had. Like, if anybody saw this coming, what would happen to Maggie? Yeah, just everything about $1 Million Baby is fantastic. It rightfully so won a good chunk of the Oscars, the Oscars that the movie won. And not to mention, Clint Eastwood also did the music for this movie. So that's cool to see. Nice to see. And for this movie to win Best Picture, it rightfully so won Best Picture. Because no doubt about it that $1 Million Baby, I mean, if it's not one of Clint Eastwood's best movies that he's done, don't you think? And I'm giving $1 Million Baby, well, it's obvious, 10 out of 10 stars. Yes, 10 out of 10 stars for $1 Million Baby. And what about you guys? What do you think of $1 Million Baby? Like, what did you think of it the first time you watched it? Were you shocked at what this movie had to offer with the dark turns and with the emotional moments, the characters, everything about this movie and all that I've had to say? And what did you think of my review? Leave comments and give this review video a like as always. So, with all that being said, thank you very much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed my review of $1 Million Baby. More review videos are on the way. They're going to be awesome. Keep looking forward, and I'll see you guys in the next video / review. And with all that being said, Oscar-winning movie week has come to a close. It's been a lot of fun with the selection of Oscar-winning movies that I've reviewed, and I can't wait to do it again. And happy anniversary to $1 Million Baby. Take care, and Peace out.